Welcome back to another episode of Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. I am your solo host, Austin Duncan. Today, in the most absurd, conflict of schedules ever that Blaine and I have ever run into of all time. This week, we just could not get it to work on the same days. So instead, you are stuck with the cuter Duncan brother for episode 37 of Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. By the way, I don't know if you've seen this. You can check out our Instagram. I am rocking the official Halloween Lives t-shirt brought to you by our friends at Spook House Studios. Now I'm all jacked up. My chain looks all gross and whatnot. Also, I got a mic stand, man. The show is just elevating in quality. I finally have a real background. This is not a Zoom background. It's all real. So speaking of Spook House Studios, always, we want to remind you that you can use code Halloween Lives at checkout for a serious discount on a lot of their sweet merch that they have. And the proceeds from that go directly into helping out this podcast. So make sure to use code Halloween Lives at checkout when shopping at Spook House Studios. And while you're there, get a load of this merch. Obviously, this is all going out to help Blaine and I. We're going to be rocking these at age 45. And man, it's cool to finally have something, of our own. And I designed this a couple weeks ago, and it's cool to be wearing something you designed. In other news, last week, Blaine was at Crypticon Minneapolis, which is a Minneapolis horror convention, and there were a lot of cool names there. Unfortunately, because of other scheduling conflicts, I couldn't make that one, but Blaine did have the opportunity to not only meet some people you Halloween fans would know, but also some people that, just fans of this specific podcast would recognize. So I'm going to throw some pictures up on the screen. Here's Blaine with Dee Wallace, who played Laurie's mom in Rob Zombie's first film. I don't believe she had any sort of flashbacks in the second one. Next up, we've got a friend of the show, Brad Lurie, who recognized Blaine at the convention. I think he said something like, "Blaine Duncan, how you doing?" And that's the coolest thing in the world. Next up, we've got the man, the myth, the legend, James Jude Courtney. Blaine got to sit out there and talk with JJC for a little bit. And, with these people, Blaine was wheeling and dealing. And I'm just saying, we might have some interviews coming down the pipeline. Who's to say? I guess technically I am, and there are, is the end of that one. So yeah, look forward to that. And finally, last but certainly not least, we ran into somebody who, only I had talked with before. I think Blaine's Instagram message with him, but he was on the show, and that's Eric Bobeda of Die Ghost. He was actually performing at Crypticon, which is just like the smallest world crazy thing. Eric, super cool that you were doing that, and best of luck moving forward, man. But yeah, Blaine got to talk to him. They got a picture together, did the whole nine. Anyways, Crypticon is definitely a sweet event. I'm sure wherever you're watching from probably has some awesome Halloween horror inspired conventions. And we'd be remiss to say that by the time the next episode is dropping, Blaine and I will be in the sky, flying down to Los Angeles, California for Halloween 45 Years of Terror convention. And man, it is the weirdest thing. I've been looking forward to this for months and months and months. And the fact that it's actually here, we're doing it. The show is growing so much. I want to thank everybody for getting us to 700 subscribers. It's absolutely insane. And we have legitimately, I'm sure you hear whatever favorite kind of startup YouTube you watch say, like, we've got a lot coming down the pipeline. Blaine and I legitimately, we're both kind of like dreamers. So we'll just text each other ideas every day of like, this is where I want to go with it. This is another place I want to take it. And, man, we're going to be coming up here in January. It'll be a year of doing this show. And, there's just so much cool stuff that we want to kind of expand what we're doing and really just take the show to a whole nother level. I think everybody here who's watching and who continues watching is going to be a fan of it. And if you're new here, welcome. We are Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers, 100% Michael, 100% of the time. And today, we're going to get into it, man. We're going to be talking about specifically the Rob Zombie Halloween duology, right? Weird. I had to Google and make sure duology was a word because it's not a trilogy. And it feels weird to just be like Rob's 2 movies. But yeah, this is talking, of course, about 2007's Rob Zombie Halloween and Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, which came out, I believe, in 2009. I'll say this. To start everything off, you almost have to give a disclaimer when you're talking anything in this franchise, because there are such strong opinions. And I relate it a lot to like, music and albums. And, if you've got an artist where everybody has a different album, that means they're a great artist. And I think the same case can be made for the Halloween franchise. If you can, we've talked to people who Halloween H2O is their favorite, like Marie, who was on a couple episodes ago. Obviously Blaine and I go for the Halloween 78, which a lot of the fandom does, but it's so great to hear how people kind of stack up these movies against each other. And I'm truly under the belief of like, if Halloween, Rob Zombie's Halloween or Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is your favorite, I'm not here to shit on that or make you feel bad about that or anything along those lines. This is more so where my head is at. And this is coming from a guy who absolutely loved the first movie when it first came out. It was one that when I was growing up, when I was like a teenager or preteen, either way too young to be watching this shit. When I was growing up watching these, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tell Blaine, but I think I like this movie better than the original, which of course is so far different from where I'm at now. But I say that to sort of, preface everything by saying I genuinely have a very soft spot in my heart, especially for the first Rob Zombie film. I think Rob Zombie's 2 was always like really, really aggressive for me. And I think maybe, at a certain age, I really enjoyed the super hyper aggressive nature of that film. We'll get into that as time goes on here. But what I'm trying to say is I don't hate these films even 1%, man. I did rank Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie very low on my rankings. But you're talking about my favorite 13 movies of all time, man. So, there's a whole lot that falls below it. Even when we're talking about some of the lower ranking films here. But with all that said, today we are going to be talking about what went wrong with Rob Zombie's Halloween duology. These are my sort of top 5 points that really irk me especially. And it's something that I see kind of reverberated through the community, and something that I want to talk about. Now, obviously, Blaine and I will be doing a deep dive specifically on each one of these films, or both of these films. So don't think that this is taking place of that. We're not going to get into every nitty gritty detail of Rob Zombie's 1 and 2, but it's definitely those 2 movies. Blaine and I are not talking about them a whole lot on this show, and it's just because they are lower in the ranks for us when it comes to some of the greats and the classics that we hold up so high. But absolutely is part of the franchise. Absolutely, it deserves to be there, and absolutely, it deserves to be talked about. So today, I think this is my third time saying it. We are going to talk about what went wrong in these films. So, first of all, we got to kind of put our time traveling caps on and go back to the year of 2007, where we were sort of in just the beginning stages of some of this some of the reboot trends that were happening. Obviously, I think the Friday the 13th remake came out in 2009. The Nightmare on Elm Street movie remake came out, and I want to say like 2010 or 2011. Which, by the way, I do really enjoy that film, and I actually really enjoy Friday the 13th remake. But this is obviously after a couple years after the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Michael Bay remake came out. So we were entering this era of gritty, grounded, violent remakes of the, the 80s slashers, or in this case, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre case, 70s slashers that really kind of built the Mount Rushmore of horror slashers. And Halloween was obviously, I think, a good chunk of the Halloween franchise or Halloween fan base, horror fan base can agree that Halloween is probably king of the hill. So yeah, there was a lot riding on this. Rob Zombie reached out to Malik Akkad and John Carpenter specifically, and both of them basically said, man, do your own thing with it. Unfortunately, Mustafa Akkad had passed away, and Malik had now been handed the reins, and this was sort of a new generation. We had Halloween Resurrection that came out 5 years earlier, and it definitely kind of put a nail in the coffin of that original sort of timeline, even though that was the H2O Resurrection timeline that ignored 4, 5, and 6. Either way, there was a lot of push to keep this franchise alive, but to give it a fresh start and maybe bring things to current times. And so I think the best part about the original movie is Rob Zombie stayed really true to the original in that second half of the film. I think the second half of the film is fantastic. It's maybe a little too faithful to the point where I'm watching and I'm like, I might as well just watch 78 at this point because this is more in line with what I love. But it is very faithful for the most part in that second half. The liberties were really taken in the first, and maybe it's not even a half, but the first chunk of that film, where, this movie obviously is bringing in a different characterization of the character of Michael Myers. And that's going to be something that opens the can of worms between Halloween 1 and Halloween 2. And, that kind of brings me to my first point that I have, where I think things maybe went wrong for these two films. And that's Michael's backstory, man. I think nobody here is going to be shocked I'm bringing this up because I bring up Michael's mystery in probably 3/4 of the episodes that we have out. And we're almost at 40 episodes here. It's something that I hold near and dear because I think the idea of having the mysterious unknown, the snap from like a regular kid to the Michael Myers we know is really terrifying. And the thought that it could happen to everybody. I actually did another solo episode talking almost exclusively just about that. So you can check that out after this one, please. But yeah, it is something that, obviously this movie is different. And if I was going to criticize it for just being different, then I kind of suck, and I might suck either way. But it is sort of, there are a degree of liberties you have to be able to take when you're doing something like this, and being as ambitious as to reboot one of the most beloved horror franchises of all time forever. I mean, we've talked Michael is Dracula, Michael is Frankenstein. And I think that status had been solidified by 2007. Um, and so, yeah, I think maybe the idea of giving Michael more backstory isn't necessarily a problem in itself. I don't know personally how you make that work in a way that would feel okay with me. Um, but uh, you know, regardless, I don't think this was the route to go down. So let's lay it all out. Obviously, we've got a strong connection to his mother. Sherry Moon Zombie plays the character of Mrs. Myers. I forget what her first name is in these films. She's not a lovable character. In fact, we will get to that. But it is a huge problem I have with even the characters that we are supposed to feel humanity through, who we're supposed to maybe have some sympathy for. Rob Zombie does a great job of making that very difficult for the viewer. And it's not because she's, a poor stripper. It's more so just the way she acts in this film. And you get more problems with that character in the second one, which we will absolutely get to. But he's very close to his mom. He's got this deadbeat stepdad. He's killing rats from the first shot of the movie. Obviously we kicking in with I believe it's God of Thunder by Kiss in the first scene, and Michael's wearing a clown mask and he's stabbing the shit out of a rat. He's like losing his mind, he's screaming in his mask. His older sister sucks a lot. Judith is just like super rude and making weird jokes. And she obviously has this weird relationship with her stepdad, who's definitely a toucher, a creep, a weirdo. But yeah, you've got this very dysfunctional family is what I'm getting at. He goes to school. Would you imagine that everybody there gives Michael a hard time as well? And he eventually, it leads to him killing his bully, him killing his sister. Then we're in Smith's Grove. Then we're meeting Sam Loomis. And you get so much of the background where Michael is saying, I'm growing my hair out long because I don't want people to see me. He's making paper mache masks in his, sanitarium. And you just get a lot of this, like, too much exposition from Michael saying, I wear masks because I'm ugly, and he like blanks out. They sort of hint that like he doesn't remember killing Judith, which is weird. He doesn't snap and become like the silent killer Michael Myers. He snaps and then he slowly continues to devolve as he rests in Smith's Grove. And obviously we're starting right off the bat. He's got Angel Myers. Boo is who ends up being Laurie Strode. That's sort of his soft spot in this film. As a child, he's like pissed off at the world, but when he sees his baby sister, you see that empathetic side of Michael. Probably for like the first time, other than like the H2L reach out scene or Michael like leaning in for the kiss. I don't know if he really leans in for the kiss in Resurrection. Either way, very rare moment of empathy from Michael. But this is young Michael. We are supposed to see how he progresses. He does his Anakin Skywalker into Darth Vader. And, so going back to that, he's got Angel Myers, who is his baby sister, who he has this soft spot for. Now, it's always sort of hinted that we don't know what Michael wants with Laurie in the original films. I mean, he is systematically killing his family. But Laurie is that one that got away. And in their moments where they are together, yes, he is aggressive, but there's this other energy that's really weird to describe. But there is more than just, I want to murder you. when it comes to Michael and Laurie's relationship. Now we take out that mystery as well, knowing that Michael is maybe still trying to kill her, but he is empathetic and has feelings for his sister from the very beginning. It's a really hard thing for me as the guy who enjoys just not knowing anything about the shape, because again, I've talked about this before. One of the big things that any one of these films tries to take care of is the fan question of why is Michael doing what he's doing. This movie takes it the sort of mental health, abuse route. Even Dr. Loomis says he's sort of the perfect storm of nurture and nature. He's obviously this 7-foot tall, massive dude with the strength to carry out extreme violence, who has been through all the trauma that we see and we hear about in the film, and now he is angry against the world. He is a killing machine. He is a monster. That for me is weird. I really like not knowing if it's nature or nurture. In fact, I prefer to think of Michael Myers as a totally normal 6-year-old boy. Snaps, he's the worst thing ever. He's the devil incarnate, whatever. Just because I think it's frightening to have that possibility of anybody could snap at any time. But yeah, we get Michael through prison. In the unrated version, he breaks out of prison to stop an act of sexual violence, or it's at least the sort of the reason he's able to break out. In the theatrical cut, it's just sheer power. There is the character of Ishmael, who is sort of, that is probably one of the hardest deaths for me to watch in any of these movies. And it's just because Ishmael's character is really, really a good guy, man. And he's like, Mikey and I, we spent a lot of time together. We understand each other. And it's kind of heartwarming that, like, there is a guy who sees beyond like a freak, like the other guards call him, or whatever. But, we do get that build up, and obviously there's a big time gap there, from Michael killing Judith to his eventual escape out of Smith's Grove Sanitarium. And in that time, we do get a lot of exposition about Michael. We see a little bit, and here's what I don't mind is when it's through the eyes of Sam Loomis, who's saying, like, Michael's nonverbal at this point. I can't get through to this kid. And even though I do find the line cringy here, and we'll get into the dialogue of this film, when he's like, man, maybe I'm just as fucked up as you are. Like, I'm sitting here talking to this kid who hasn't spoken a word to me in however long. And, in a way, Michael has become his therapist. It's this really weird relationship that Loomis and Michael have in this film that I actually do enjoy. I think there is something there that if they do a Loomis TV show, you could pull some of that from. I would want Michael to be like nonverbal the entire time. I don't want Michael to ever really give Dr. Loomis anything to work with. I just want Loomis to make this kid with the devil's eyes. And this kid does not have the devil's eyes. Dag Farch did a great job in this film, but it is weird to see Michael as sort of this like moon-faced kid with long, stringy, pale blonde hair. And he's wearing like Kiss shirts. Like, this dude's kind of like, he's kind of cool, man, in a not cool way. Like, I don't believe he'd be getting bullied like that, but it is whatever. Either way, yes. Point one for me is that the backstory is not what I'd prefer. I think it's really dark and gritty and violent and in your face, rageful, which is absolutely the vibe that Rob Zombie was going for in these films. And that is something that I want to talk about. That is like a really good thing about these films is the vibe. They're just the anger and the vengeance that Michael has in this film is extremely clear. Rob Zombie did nail that sort of new age, rageful, powerful Michael. And I don't have a problem with him being 7 foot tall, though I do prefer, that average build where it's not really about like he's a physical threat and that's why he's scary. He's just a regular guy with the most, not even demented mind, just soulless mind. And that's what's terrifying about him, not the fact that he's literally like Sabretooth from X-Men. I think that's his name, is Sabretooth or something like that. He's Wolverine's evil brother, is all I know. And he was a WWE wrestler, Tyler Mane. Tyler Mane, who hoping to meet at age 45 as well. But yeah, he is this really menacing Michael Myers. But the backstory, the path he takes to get from point A to point B is a little too over expositioned for me. And I just can't forgive that, because I have this thing about Michael Myers that I love, and that it's, you never really know what's going on in his mind. We get a little bit too much of a peek into the mind in these films. And I think that that's why people have, had problems with these films. Obviously, we get way too much of that in Halloween 2. To briefly go over it without jumping into the white horse thing, because spoiler alert, that is going to be one of the points I talk about here. But it's just these flashbacks and this weird psychological, force connection that he has with Laurie. If that happened between Blaine, or between siblings, Blaine and I would be recording together right now, because we'd be able to just know each other's schedules. Alas, Blaine and I are not psychics with each other. I'm glad he can't read my mind, because I'm absolutely insane. And he's probably thankful in the same way. Either way, not how siblings work. I don't like when they bring supernatural elements into it, and Michael's psyche definitely becomes part of that, and it kind of leaks into Laurie. The Ends haters should have a problem with that. And if you hate Ends and you like Halloween 2 by Rob Zombie, we should talk, because I'm lost. Anywho, let's get into my kind of number 2. This isn't like a top 5, but it is the top 5. This is in no particular order, but this is the top 5 reasons I have issues with this film, or these 2 films, is Halloween 2's PTSD of Laurie Strode, man. I talked about this briefly before, but I think there's a really good chance to get into it specifically. And it's that I believe that the PTSD for any sequel, not even just a horror movie, I think giving your main character PTSD from your first successful movie is a cop-out. I think it's a way to kind of like hang on the success of the first one and be like, hey, remember that? And you give your character a full arc in the first movie, which we could debate that with Laurie Strode in the first one. But either way, you give your character a full arc and you're like, it's time for a sequel. There's too much money to be made. What do I do with my character? Perfect. If they elevated themselves to another new level in the first movie, just bring them down even further to have to crawl their way back up. It's just repetitive, and I think it's a trope that's been way overused. Again, not just in horror, but in film, in media in general. It's just I don't want to have to think about the first movie all the time and go, damn, I guess I would be like that too. It's over the top. It's not inspired in any way, and the way Laurie Strode portrays this character. And it is what will lead me into my next point, is just absolutely unlikable. And yes, it's probably a realistic adaptation of people who are really struggling with mental health. But this is our main character. This is who I'm supposed to put myself in their shoes. And I just can't, because sometimes she is just absolutely irrational. She's annoying and childish and rude, especially to like Sheriff Brackett and Annie, who literally are taking care of her. And I think that's like supposed to be the point, is like, damn, look at how fucked up Laurie is. She's even being mad to the people she loves the most. You know where else I've seen that? Every other movie ever. It's not my thing. And it's not, I don't think this is like a strong point for Rob Zombie. And I think it definitely fails in this perspective, or in this case. Laurie Strode's PTSD. There's even a great point where Annie's like, listen here, bitch, I did this too. And you don't see me acting like this dickhead, like Laurie is. And that part is real. That part was good. But it is just something I really struggle with. And it leaks into other films. It leaks into the new Halloween trilogy with Laurie Strode. Obviously, I think the best way to do it is something like Laurie in H2O. But even in the 18 kills ends timeline, it's like, dude, you've gone completely off the fucking deep end here. Yes, you went through something horrible, but Jesus Christ. People do go through some horrible things. And I'm sure not all of them turn out the best, but it is, we are talking about Laurie Strode here, who is the scream queen. In essence, the character that we are supposed to be the most rooting for. And goddamn, there are some parts in Halloween 2 where I'm like, Michael, just fucking whack this bitch. Either way, I think Scout Taylor Compton acted her ass off in this film. No problem with her. I think it's just the way the character is written, the way the character is supposed to be in these movies. It is just not for me, man. Especially when it gets to 2, but I have problems with Laurie Strode in number 1 as well. It's just not the, even the updated the new adaptation of Laurie Strode for the new era. It's just, it doesn't do it for me, man. And if it does it for you, that's great. Please let me know the way I should be watching these films to think more like you in the comments below. If you are like a big, no, Laurie Strode in these movies kicks ass, let me know, because I'm not seeing it. Anyways, let's jump into reason number 3 here. And it's something I've hinted at with a couple of characters because, fun fact, spoiler alert, they're all like this. My what went wrong part, or number 3 here, is that everyone, including Laurie Strode, including Dr. Loomis, is a piece of shit. Like, it is insane. Rob Zombie is known for writing these characters that are like almost always white trash, sort of individuals you wouldn't want to run into in a dark alley. But it is crazy when even the characters that we're really supposed to like, I think Linda and Annie are like really the only 2 where I'm like, they're all right. But everybody's a piece of shit at some point in these movies, man. Everybody sucks at some point in the movies. And I think it really sucks when it's characters like Loomis and Laurie, especially. I think Loomis hits me harder because this is a dude who is, Laurie Strode is 17 in the first one. You can excuse her even with the PTSD thing. It's like, damn, like she's a fucking kid. Like, she's still going through it. But when it comes to Dr. Loomis, who, by the way, Malcolm McDowell, absolutely a huge fan of Clockwork Orange. It's a huge, awesome. What a great casting to have him as this character. But God, especially in that second one, man. And I think maybe only in the second one. I think he's all right in the first one, even though he does fall under just a tad of that sliminess that a Rob Zombie movie for some reason just has to have. In that second one, man, seeing Loomis go down is just like this greedy piece of shit, like this guy that is all about money, and he's treating the people, his like publicist, really badly. I don't know, man. This is Dr. Loomis. This is the guy who's, he's kind of the hero here. I mean, he's the one that saves Laurie in the first film. And where's that heroic guy now? He's capitalizing off of the, the death of these people in Haddonfield. And I just, man, Donald Pleasance could never. Again, not a knock on Malcolm McDowell, because obviously he is the guy. He is a fantastic actor, but he has to act what the script says. He has to act what the story is asking him to do. And in my opinion, it was some pretty dumb stuff. Again, if you don't feel that way, if you think, dude, you're not seeing it in the right way. You don't understand how this movie is supposed to make you feel, or this, that, or the other. Let me know. Talk to me. I will respond to your comments. I'll hear you out. Because like I said, there was a point in time where these films were really high up there for me. And it's just the more I watch them these days, the more I get pissed off, the more I like dislike them. Again, still part of the Halloween franchise. Am I going to watch both of these movies here in about a week? Yeah, dude, absolutely am. We're a few days away from October now, and every October 1st, man, without miss, I'm putting on Rob Zombie's Halloween 1. Get me in the Halloween mood, man. And I will do absolutely the same thing on October 2nd. I will probably watch Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 because Halloween 1 will be fresh in my mind. So as much as I may be hating on these films, no, I'm going to subjugate myself to them very shortly and won't have a bad time. The fourth problem, maybe before we get into this, I do want to maybe dive even deeper into everyone is a piece of shit. Like Michael's stepdad, the bullies, even the teachers, the professors or the teachers, the nurse, man, the nurse who's like sees the picture of Angel Myers or Laurie Strode and she's like, oh, what a cute baby. Can't be related to you, you ugly piece of shit kid that I know murdered someone. Like, what do you think he's going to do? Realistically, this kid clearly has some screws loose and has had a rough upbringing and has proven in multiple cases he is willing to commit murder. In fact, enjoys it. And you're like, God damn, son, you're ugly. To Michael Myers. Like this is like the nurses. These are supposed to be the people who have like the biggest hearts, who are helping those in need, especially in the mental health space. And maybe we've just come such a long way since 2007, but bro, I don't believe anybody was acting like that. This is absolutely a Rob Zombieism. I'm glad I came back to this point because that nurse is like the exact reason for all this. And then, you know, even Michael can't catch a break. In Halloween 2, he's out in a cornfield. He happens to stumble upon the most aggressive corn farmers of all time who are just ready to beat the hell out of Mike. Obviously, they get what's coming to them. How could I forget the coroner's office people, the people that take Michael's body and Linda's body out from the crime scene of the first movie at the beginning of the second movie. Bro, they're just super gross. And maybe it's because, you know, we're going to see some really violent kills and maybe it's a little bit easier to take if you hate everybody. So when Michael kills them, you're kind of like, yeah, get him. But man, I don't know. As every time I start rooting for Michael, I have to remind myself, like, oh, this is very much not the way it's supposed to go. I'm supposed to be connected to the fully human, non-shaped characters, which unfortunately happens rarely through this series. And I do find myself being like, get him, Mike, which I'm sure a lot of you do as well. But yeah, the first one really feels like a superhero movie for Mike because he's just taking out all these people who have done him wrong or other just genuinely shitty people in the world, which happens, I guess, in the second one as well. But yeah, it does become a problem when there's no likable characters in your movie. I have trouble being connected to it, feeling empathy for anybody because I'm like, dude, they all could die and I'd be all right. And that's probably not the way you want your movie to go. Halloween Lives first. I think I'm about to sneeze. Nah, it's all good. Is it? Nah, it's all good. Is it? I'm so... No, I'm not. Welcome back to Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. Now we're going to get into point number 4. Jesus Christ. Blaine, where are you? I'm dying out here, man. Another one coming in hot and dangerous. Number 4 problem for me is the dialogue The dialogue in these films is just absurd. It kind of ties into the last point where everybody is a piece of shit. But I just wanted to bring out 3 quotes, really 2, and a kind of a funny one at the end. These are real lines that a group of writers, I believe, maybe it was just Rob Zombie, because that would maybe make me feel better about how this ended up in a feature film. But these are just 3 quotes. These are all from the first movie, by the way. First of all, we've got Ronnie here, who says a very eloquent line in this film. Maybe I will choke the chicken and purge my snork all over those flappy ass tits. Eloquently said. Beautiful line. I mean, at the same time, you're like, God, this is just a stupid line, but it is funny. It is funny. It kind of brings in that horror humor. But dude, it's just like, man, you're throwing this in on like the thing I care about so much. It's kind of the same problem Blaine and I have with Allison's dad going like, I got peanut butter on my penis in Halloween 2018. It's just like, if the movie isn't taking itself seriously, why am I going to? Then there's a line that happens with the next, after the time jump, we've got Laurie Strode in our introduction to the character that has meant everything to this franchise. Even when the movies aren't about her, they're still kind of about her. They're about her like offspring in some way, shape, or form. And yes, finally, after years, we get a reinvention of Laurie Strode. And what does she do? What does she say? While I want to point this out, this is while she is fingering a bagel. She says, guess what, Mom? I think Mr. Nichols likes to touch me the wrong way. And she's making like sex sounds while she's like touching these bagels, man. This is Laurie Strode. This is Laurie Strode. This is the character we all grew up knowing and loving. And we're bringing her back. Maybe I'm being too much right now, but come on. It's just, it's weird writing. Even if you don't want to say it's bad writing, it's weird writing. And finally, my favorite line in both of these films comes from, I believe he is Principal Chambers. He breaks in on Michael's bullies, teasing him in the bathroom. They get in a scuffle, and Michael Myers Dank Farce looks at Principal Chambers, who's got kind of a Michael Myers ghost, Michael Jackson ghost. I'll put an image here. It is worth my time. 43 minutes. I'm writing that down so I know when to edit this in. But he looks like the kind of the antagonist in Michael Jackson's Ghost music video. He looks at Michael, and Michael looks at him, and he goes, "Fuck you," and he goes, Principal Chambers goes, "Fuck me." Just something about those two words, man, really does it for me. That's not even bad writing. That's not even a problem with the dialogue. I just wanted to talk about that. And obviously, you can't go without mentioning the Joe Grizzly bitch, played by Ken Faree, the man, the myth, the legend, saying, I didn't write this one down, but it's in my heart, even if it's not written correctly. He's, listen, man, I had a, double burrito supreme. Why don't you F off so I can pass this beast in peace? Let me introduce myself. I'm Joe Grizzly, bitch. Not bad writing, weird writing again. And that one I'm really cool with, just because that scene is like very high up for me, as I have made clear through 37 episodes of this podcast. And we made it to ding, 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 number 5 after 2 or 3 sneezes, some bad quotes, some cliches of the movie industry, and a personal bias regarding Michael's upbringing, his reason for doing what he's doing. And I talked about this earlier, and this isn't going to be some very deep point, but it is one that I think if you're talking about with what went wrong with these two films, you got to mention it, man. The White Horse. And I say that with confusion. To this day, it's been what, 10 years, 10 plus, some years. 2009 was when it came out. So it's been almost 15 years. And I don't know what the hell that meant. I don't understand. The visuals, I'll give you this. The visuals are cool looking. They would have really fit in like Lords of Salem. Not sure what the hell they're doing in Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. I think they gave Rob Zombie the keys to the mothership on the first one, but he knew he had sort of that maintenance he had to do to keep the franchise or to take the franchise where he wanted to go. He wanted to start things off in a comfortable location. He took his liberties where he could, but then he just went absolutely acid trip weird on his sequel. And I think that was him finally doing like the Halloween movie he wanted to do. It's worth noting there were like weird behind the scenes financial shadiness events taking place as this film was happening, but I do not think that affects the writing of the movie, the structure, the bones of this film, which I think are bad bones, man. Just some gross bones. And the gross bones are held up by this spine that is the White Horse. And man, it is just stupid. It is stupid. It's very sort of Jason Voorhees, but also like trying to be like a trippy evil metal video, which, you know, Rob Zombie clearly is the guy. Like I'm not going to call out that without acknowledging like he is the creepy trippy metal video guy for his own music. But it's too over the top. It's too like beat you on the head with it. It eventually leads to two of my biggest problems with the second film. And it's Michael going, die, stupid. And then Laurie Strode putting on the mask and getting shot by the cops while a Hallmark commercial version of Love Hurts plays. And man, it just ain't for me. We get that long shot of Laurie walking down the white hallway as she finally gets to see her mom and Michael and the White Horse. You know, they tried to connect the White Horse thing back to the first movie, where they do the flashback with a different actor than Dag Farch playing Michael Myers, young Michael Myers, and he's holding a white horse, I believe. Man, if you wanted to do that, like if this was where you wanted to take it, at least have the foresight to put that in the first movie, even if we were like, yeah, young Michael's cool. Don't really know what the little white horse toy is all about, but whatever. We didn't get any of that, and it led to this like really weird, jarring, unexpected White Horse, huge plot point of the film that nobody was expecting, nobody asked for, and you know what? It hasn't been touched since. You know, maybe I'll eat crow on that, and they'll remake Halloween here in 2 years, and you know, from the jump, Michael's talking about white horses, but I highly freaking doubt that. It is just not for me, man. And yeah, that's point number 5. You know, I'm sure we could go a lot deeper, and I'm sure Blaine and I will on subsequent episodes of the show. But those are sort of my, if you had to you know, really put a gun to my head and say, why did these movies not work? Those are probably the top 5 points I would bring up. Again, I want to stress, I don't hate these movies. I'm going to watch them in like 10 days. It's gonna happen. And like I said, I'm going to enjoy myself, have a good time, the whole nine. I'm going to love these movies, in fact. But they're definitely, God, you know, just like that indie white chick at the end of Halloween 2 sings, love hurts, man. And these movies absolutely hurt to watch. And but sometimes you need the hurt, because that's why I start down here. Then I work my way up to obviously my favorites of the franchise as the month of October goes on. So let me know, am I full of it? Am I one of Rob Zombie's shitty characters? Tell me why. If you agree, let me know why too. Maybe some points you wish I would have expanded on, or some points that you think differently on. Throw them in the comments below. One of the coolest things about having this channel is it's basically like having a little public forum where all we do is talk about Michael Myers. It's a solid deal. So don't be afraid to throw something in there. If you're in the live chat, which we do every 9 a.m. Friday morning, Eastern Standard Time, let me know in there too. Either way, man, thank you so much for listening to all this. We do have a couple housekeeping items before I peace out and hopefully return with the man, the myth, the legend, Blaine Duncan next week. Something I failed to mention at the beginning and may end up have edited in is that when it comes to this t-shirt right here, when it comes to the Halloween Lives official tee, we are taking orders through October 13th, or our October 13th live show, and they will begin shipping the week of Halloween. So get your orders in, and we'd love to see you guys rocking the Halloween Lives official t-shirt. If you heard that twice, that means I edited it. If you heard that for the first time, it means I'm a lazy piece of shit. 2 options, 2 total options. Anyways, that is a good segue into bringing up yet again that Blaine and I are doing a Friday the 13th live show. If you want to be part of that, we did one similarly a few weeks back, or at this point a couple months back, for Live 25, and it was awesome, man. We had past guests, and we talked directly with you guys who give us so much, and you spend so much of your time watching me and my brother talk all things Halloween every week. It's good to open up the other line of the phone, man, and hear directly from you where your head is at. And I'm looking forward to doing that again here in a couple weeks. So if you want to be a part of that, make sure to hit us up at halloween.lives.podcast on Instagram. Again, I'm going to shout out, head to Spook House Studios, use the code HalloweenLives, buy yourself a t-shirt as well. And yeah, man, just thank you to our sponsors over at spookhousestudios.com. That about wraps up episode 37 of Halloween Lives, the podcast of Michael Myers. I've been your host, Austin Duncan. Thank you for listening to me yet again ramble for 53 minutes now, or maybe a little bit less than that. But it's really great. I love talking about these movies. I'm finally not on a Zoom background, which is cool. This needs to get a little cooler, and I'm going to figure out how. But I do like that I actually, I can touch my background now, and it feels good, man. It feels good. All right. I am going to go edit like a madman, and I will see you next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about H45, man. And when it drops, Blaine and I, like I said, are going to be in the air on our way to H45. It's going to be a huge week here for the podcast, for the channel. Nothing's going to change, though. You're still going to get your weekly Halloween Lives content. And I'd imagine there's going to be some extra content as well with this huge convention, this huge deal. Blaine mentioned a few weeks ago that he listed out all the people he wants autographs from, and he was like, dude, it's going to be insane expensive. And in my head, I was like, yeah, there's only like a few that I really need, like just a couple. And then I started going through the list today, and I listed out everybody who I was like, this one I probably really got to do. I've got like 10 people on there. If they charge $50 for an autograph, I'm not going to be able to afford keeping these lights on behind me. So make sure to go over to Spook House Studios, buy yourself a Halloween Lives podcast of Michael Myers t-shirt. I am your host, Austin Duncan. Thank you so much for watching yet again, and I will see you next week for episode number 38. Peace.